Hello everyone, and welcome to today's live session, Wisdom Waves Wednesday. I'm your host, Swati Gupta, parenting coach, child psychologist, and founder of Joyful Parenting Club. I am so excited you're here because we have someone who is truly special to me, to my kids, Dr. Sanjay Wazir. So, my kids' pediatrician from the time my kids were born. So my daughter is 13 and my son is 6. So you would know that how many years it's been I know him. So Dr. Sanjay Wazir is a highly respectable pediatrician and neonatologist from over 25 years of experience caring for newborns, children, and guiding families through some of the most delicate and important moments in early life. He holds the honor of being the very first certified neonatologist in the state of Haryana, and he has trained at PGI Chandigarh, one of India's premier medical institutes for postgraduate training. But beyond his remarkable medical career, Dr. Sanjay is an avid learner. He's exploring the world of artificial intelligence, playing the Indian flute, and he's checking his hands on golf course and even writing books, by the way. So, in fact, he's the author of Bundle of Joy, a wonderful resource for parents, as well as numerous medical books and articles. He has been teaching neonatologists to postgraduate students for last 15 years. And actually, I can go on and on because his portfolio is that vast. So thank you so much, Dr. Sanjay, for accepting our invite and being here and coming to our show.
Thank you, Swati. It's lovely to be here and connected to you and to your audience.
Wow. So thank you so much. So all of you sitting present here, grab a notebook and pen paper because we'll discuss certain things and you would need that kind of pen and paper so that you can have that knowledge taking forward for your own homes. So I have listed down a list of questions for you, Dr. Sanjay. So I'll just ask them one by one. Yeah.
Sure. Please go ahead.
Okay, so from your experience, what is the most common mistake new parents make in newborn care?
I wouldn't call it a mistake, but I would I'll call it more an apprehension. But
Okay.
in my 2 decades of having caring for the newborns and newly borns, I
Mm-hmm.
will tell you that the most common mistake, if you call it so, is not about forgetting a vitamin drop. It's not about forgetting a feed. It is
Okay.
about overdoing in the name of love. We just understand as a parent that we are apprehensive. We say, okay, we are new parents actually are flooded by advice all over the place. You go from Google to relatives who come, and to even the auntie you meet in the park or in an elevator, she'll still have some kind of advice for you. In their eagerness to get it perfect, they end up with over handling the baby, sometimes overfeeding. बच्चे का फीड ये रो रहा है क्योंकि फीड है, because as an outsider I can only say that much because the child is I mean, as an outsider, I mean, as a relative or as a person who's looking from outside.
Yeah.
And that over interpreting every cry as a medical emergency. कि बच्चा रो रहा है, चुप कर रहा है. So this is something which see. So we say, okay, I mean, I've seen babies whose skin was scrubbed so much for the hygiene because they developed rashes, and many times I see the parents to get that perfect this thing, or we've changed from like breast milk because to a formula, and then keep changing the formula in to find that perfect formula. I mean, my
Yeah.
advice would be to just like take pause, maybe observe, and trust
Mm.
nature. God did not
Yeah.
need man to propagate mankind. It is
Absolutely.
sufficient in itself.
Correct. So in parenting term, we usually say that these days parents are helicopter parents. They want perfect in everything. So exactly what you said, they're over parenting to the level where they want to do the best for the child, but unnecessarily or probably unknowingly they are doing harm than good. So yes, that is true. So, which comes to our next question. How can parents tell if the child's growth and development is on track? How do you track that? Like without coming to you, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, so first thing that we need to see is that it's not a railway track. So you said track the growth, but it's not a railway track where you see that child's train must arrive at every station at exactly on the same time. Okay, so so you should probably take children as plants in a garden,
Hmm.
which you would probably see they grow at different speeds in different
Wow.
seasons and maybe in their own unique shapes. Uh,
Yeah.
so, as a pediatrician, we generally and we are taught like this that the for growth, the best tool is the growth chart, and it's certainly
Hmm.
neighbor's child. Huh?
Yeah.
So, so
Neighbor's child. I love it. Because we happen to do that so often.
absolutely,
I'm
mm,
sure you would be getting that every day, but that's very true. That
yeah,
उसका बेटा तो इतना लंबा है, मेरा बेटा क्यों छोटा ही रह गया, उसका बेटा तो मोटा हो गया, मेरा बच्चा तो पतला है. So, मतलब that comparison chart is always there on the radar.
it's like ये तो आप मेरे पास तो कभी पेशेंट आते हैं जो दे सिटिंग आउटसाइड ऐसे इसी आई सॉ द अदर चाइल्ड हु वाज 9 months and he was looking for heavier than this. I said
Oh goodness,
so
yes.
this is like so it's important to have regular checkups with your pediatricians to plot
Yes.
the height, the weight, and the head circumference over time. But it is important to understand growth means that you are actually looking at 2 points. An increment between 2 points is what is called as
Mm,
growth. I
yeah.
mean, in simpler terms, would be like somebody like in a suppose your company, for example, you have two people.
Mm,
One's salary is 1 lakh, and somebody's salary is 2 lakhs, hypothetically.
mm.
Then growth, which is equal growth for both of them, would
Yeah.
translate into 10,000 and 20,000 growth. So absolute number
Wow.
may be different, but you
Mm,
have exactly the same growth. So you
mm.
need to plot it on a growth curve, and you get most these apps and growth curves on
Yeah. Yeah.
the app stores. That you just need to just track the direction of growth. If it is going up,
Wow.
then you probably just and for the development, you said you should look at milestones not as deadlines, but they are their guideposts. If your child is like social smile by 2 months, is rolling by 4 to 5 months, and
Mm.
sitting probably without support by 5 months, you
Yeah.
probably think that you're doing fine. Those
Mm.
like for the older children, you, of course, apart from motor milestones, you want to look at other things like fine motor, the language, the social
Yes. Mm.
but always remember a slight delay in one area isn't always alarming. It is like,
Mm. Mm.
see, I have parents who come to me like, yeah, the child is not crawling, and they start getting really hyper. And the next time they come, or the child is started to walk start without getting, is it all right? It is
Huh.
all not to have because he maybe had a curve. He didn't think that it was worth wasting time to crawl and then.
Absolutely. I remember the conversation of Ribha with you. Ribha was always very skinny, if you remember. So I used to always say that, why is he so skinny? I'm giving my feed, but you used to always say it can be genetics. It can be so many other things. He's super active. So you don't have to be worried about his skinniness or he's slim or not, because there are a lot of parameters which can be actually required or probably need to be assessed. So if he's growing fine, it's growing fine. So yeah.
So that's why, on a plant analogy, when one of the parents I told us, I said, you don't have to worry about if your mango tree is slim and you're giving you more fruits than a bulky tree and not giving you fruits. So you probably are, yeah,
Yeah,
looking
right.
at an outcome which is basically a development, a holistic Yeah, we're
Hmm.
not looking at piecemeal. So we are unfortunately looking at, oh, I want to drink water for like I want to walk to remain healthy. No, being healthy is a commitment beyond
Hmm.
just walking. It's about avoiding bad food. It's about sleeping on time. It's about, so you
Hmm.
need to look at it in a holistic manner rather than just looking at just one milestone and
Hmm.
worried about it. So just keep track, but don't get obsessed with it.
Yeah.
And your pediatrician, because he would have handled such much, many more cases, so
Yeah.
he'll be able to guide you whether you need to be really seeking and further referral, or you're okay with just continuing with further, wait and watch policy.
Okay. So with that question, I would like to also ask that how do you recommend that, okay, in 6 months we should visit a pediatrician, or should it be 9 months, or it should be 3 months? So how often should like for dental we know that once a year you should visit.
Hmm.
So usually, what do you think for a pediatrician or for a parent without any problem? Maybe I don't want a vaccination, I do not have any child issues, but do you think we should regularly visit a pediatrician?
Yes, so it is important. See, it's a pediatrician is much like a camera on the road, which is keeping track of your things which may go wrong. For most of the time, the traffic is a smooth ride; it doesn't matter. But for that one odd car which is probably breaking down or having a problem, it is important that we need to pick it up. And the reason why we want to do it, because it is little plastic in the
Hmm.
2 years. So if it is going a little wrong, also, I have a chance to put it back on track.
Yeah.
With an early identification. So that is why it is important. Say, for example, I have like a heart disease right now. Maybe
Hmm.
at 1 month or 2 months. I
Got
mean,
it.
physical limit, and I would probably identify it by clinical examination and say, okay, maybe you need further evaluation and maybe surgery or maybe medical therapy or nothing else. On
Right.
the contrary, by the time the heart has kind of collapsed or probably become very weak,
Week.
because
Hmm.
not, then it becomes difficult to treat such a patient.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I love your examples, Dr. Sanjay. You give examples like a child psychologist. I use these kind of examples, but when I see you using it, it's lovely because
Yeah,
it's
unfortunately,
actually sharp.
yeah, sure, please go ahead.
So, what are some myths about child's immunity that you wish parents would stop believing?
So when it comes to child immunity, like I have heard everything from giving them honey to haldi doodh,
Honey,
and
to avoid.
and they will never fall sick. And this
Hmm.
is taught to them. And one of the wrong myths is like if you keep them too clean, they will have no immunity, or
Hmm.
vice versa also. Like if you keep them. So the truth is that immunity isn't built by magic potions or letting every germ in the neighborhood have a free pass. So it's somewhere in between. Like I give you a very practical example
Hmm.
that till last century we were having a lot of like communicable disorders like measles, tuberculosis, and other infective illnesses,
Hmm.
and very little of allergic disorders but you see, for example, the cleaner parts of the world, for example Australia, I'm saying, is like
Hmm.
50%, they don't have like problems with infective organisms, but they
Hmm.
have problems of allergies. Like for
Yeah.
example, like they have 15% asthma rate, and 40% of those Australians have a allergic diastasis that they may develop kind of an allergy somewhere along the line. So in nature, there's a balance between being allergy and infection. So if infection goes
Hmm.
down, allergy will go up. If the allergy goes down, infections go up, the allergy goes down. So
Yeah.
somewhere between is this thing. The myth number one, which I trust, like because they start sending the children to school, and they say,
Hmm.
"Okay, बच्चे को पिछले महीने भी जुकाम हुआ था, इस महीने भी हुआ है, so इसकी immunity weak है." Like, let
Hmm.
it be very like it's a very blunt kind of an explanation, but
Hmm.
still immunity problem is something like an HIV. Okay, and
Hmm.
HIV is a typical. And just like I'm putting it in the context so that you can understand it, because everybody relates to this rather than a
Yeah.
deficiency. But HIV is something which एक छोटा सा पस एक बड़े इन्फेक्शन में होता है, आपको खांसी होने लगती है, आपको निमोनिया होता है. So if your child is not getting hospitalized, if the child does not need antibiotics most of the time, especially the IV ones,
Hmm.
if he has not required surgeries like in the first couple of years, it is not kind of immunity. It is just that the viruses are there. And by the way, like we humans think that only humans have a right to live on Earth. The God made gave them viruses an equal opportunity to survive. So they
Correct.
would so kind of multiply in their host, which is we. And young children, because they huddle together in parks, they huddle together in बेटा जी, एक मिनट बाद में करेंगे. Like sorry. So this is like and there is like if they go to school or daycare or something, and they have it together and they get an infection from one or the other, and in
Correct.
that case, that they probably get a cold. So getting a cold, especially lasting for say 10 to 14 days and 6 to 8 months a year, that's actually normal. And
Okay.
speaking, this is the way immune system learns and matures. Like, and
Hmm.
second myth which I know is that the parents come and say, okay, कोई vitamin ले ले या multivitamin ले ले and tonic ले ले, and that's like and they think that's a panacea for all illnesses. Like,
Huh. Huh.
like let me be very candid again. This is like
Correct.
pharma industry makes this kind of nutraceuticals for their profit, not for your babies.
Hmm.
So if you have to trust between a man and God, it has to be God. And God made apple. I mean, God made like all vitamin A containing foods and
Correct.
whatever. And it's like so. No man can be smart enough to put that what happens in apple into as simple as iron. As like
Ah,
as like there are catharines, there are antioxidants, there's so many other things, and there are balance
hmm.
on human understanding as of now. So a
Yeah.
balanced diet is essential, and overloading and on supplements does
Not
not make you
required. Hmm.
bulletproof.
Wow, wow. So you clearly feel that, those supplements are just market gimmicks sometimes, and we have to stop giving it to our child. And it is trust on the more natural products, so that, kids are more like a balanced diet, so that kids are more not prone to diseases and not rely on supplements too much, because their body also rely on supplements then.
Yeah, so it is reliance. I do not know, but like if you see the people who live the longest, the people who live in the blue zones, whether it is like the Okinawa or Sardinia or the blue zone people,
Yeah, yeah.
they don't have doctors, they don't have gyms, they don't have hospitals, they don't have medicines. They
Uh,
only rely on nature's produce to live 100 years and above. And I think we don't need wisdom to think beyond that.
Correct, correct, correct. That is true. I mean, that's so insightful, because we trust on medicine so much that we forget those natural products are actually more relevant. Try and feed them that. So in your opinion, what is the most underrated, like, a health habit parents can teach their kids? Most underrated.
Oh, yes. So the most underrated in Indian context, I would say that like it's
Yes.
not something exotic like a superfood or a fancy breathing technique. It would
Huh.
be as simple as sleep. Okay.
Huh. Oh.
We
How stress. Oh, yes, stress. Huh,
Right.
huh. Right.
Like we underestimate how a good night's sleep shapes a child's mood,
Yes.
focus, like immunity, and even growth, like, for that matter.
Mm,
In
mm.
fact, sleep is restorative from your health, from your like immunity, everything. The body releases growth hormones, consolidates memory, repairs cells, and yet I see children, toddlers going to bed late because of homework, for example, because like
Yeah.
family schedules, or sometimes TVs, or sometimes
Mm, mm.
coming late because they come and they think that that's the only time they have with the children.
Correct, correct. The lifestyle of the parents, yes.
Yes, but then like they say okay हम रात को लेट आते हैं ना इसलिए हमें फिर बच्चे के साथ खेलना which is very true but यही काम आप सुबह भी तो कर सकते हो या 5 बजे
हाँ,
like why do you have to
चालू,
keep
हाँ,
आप उसको भी 5 बजे उठाओ और आप भी 5 बजे उठो दोनों
करेक्ट,
you
हाँ,
can enjoy yourself. Why do you have to keep awake because this thing? So
हम्म,
it like a good sleep hygiene is a learned habit, and it
हम्म,
is starts with a predictable bedtime routine. Yeah, yeah.
हाँ,
Your body, for example, your eyes know it's 9 o'clock. Your conscious mind knows what it is 9 o'clock, but your pineal gland, which is to secrete melatonin, does not know it is 9 o'clock. It
wow,
only runs with a rhythm, and if you break that rhythm, circadian rhythm, and
हाँ,
people over talk about say, is it 9 hours? It is 8 hours. It is 6 hours. It is none of them actually. So I give you a very simple example and real one which you can identify. I'm sure. So
हम्म,
if 8 hours is good enough for parents for
हम्म,
a good sleep. Now you sleep at 10 o'clock and get up at 6 o'clock. You may feel refreshed. Now I give you today, do not sleep at 10. You
हम्म,
sleep at 2 o'clock in the night and sleep till 10 o'clock in the morning. You,
okay,
sleep, you have slept, instead of 8, you have slept 10 hours, yet you will not feel refreshed because now you have broken that circadian rhythm.
like,
And so it is important that you probably would need to look at making the sleep predictable. So like you prepare for everything, you need to prepare for sleep, whether it is a bedtime story or a like bath or
mm,
so
right,
just calming reading, yeah,
mm, mm.
but don't excite your evening.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I have followed this, I call this magic hour for my kids. I usually follow it. I mean, it's been 10 years I've been doing that for Ashrika. It's been 5 years I'm doing that with Riba, and it helps so much. My both the kids exactly sleep by 8:40 and every day without fail, because it's there in their subconscious mind, or probably they feel sleepy even if we have dinner, they're half asleep in the dinner because it's gone in their subconscious brain that this is the sleep hour.
Yes, in fact, I was reading a book called "Sleep Baby Sleep." There's Karen Bajaj, so she's like a American lady, like who married an Indian and is like lives in Mumbai or somewhere. Like I don't know what is exactly it. So she's written like in the preface of the book that this is a problem which is only Indian, like everywhere.
That's the truth. That is the truth. I mean, I have seen so many times because we plan late dinners. We have to have family dinners outside, and it's so crazy because most of the dinners my children are not able to go because they are obviously early sleepers. So हमारा जब शादी का बारात हो रहा होता है तो मैं बच्चों को सुला के then I lock the room, lock the house, keep my nanny, and then I go because I know my kids won't survive that long.
Correct.
So then to the next question, when should parents worry about fever? I mean, this is something which, I mean, I've heard so many times. When do you think parents should worry about the fever, and when do you think they should just stay calm? ठीक है, अपने आप चला जाएगा, जैसे हम 3 days या 4 days का जो वायरल बोलते हैं. Like, what do you think? What is your perspective on this?
So like when I started my practice initially, again on a very lighter note, like I had because I was trained in a government institute, so there people would come only with one complaint: बुखार है या बुखार नहीं है, you know? So like so like when I started practicing in a relatively elite and urban class, so it was always the rising number of the thermometer which can go like so it is 100, 200, 300, 4. Now
हाँ,
the truth is that fever is itself not an illness; it's a symptom.
हाँ,
From the body's way of fighting back when there were no doctors, no medicines.
hmm,
Fever would really kill the bacteria, and this was the way the nature treats fever in any other mammal also. So
wow,
it's important to stay calm. You have to ensure that if the child is playful, drinking fluids, breathing comfortably, and the fever is responding to paracetamol or it's okay to monitor at home for a day or two. So you need to look at whether this is like, and many common viral illnesses, monsoon melodies, they behave like this. Now,
hmm,
apprehension becomes with, am I missing a dengue? Am I missing a typhoid or something? Well,
हाँ,
that, like, so you should understand what are the red flag signs. So, for
Okay.
example, baby who's less than 3 months, I mean, any fever, you need to go to a doctor. Like, don't really assume things. 3 months and 36 months or and above, you need to see if there is a difficult breathing, it's a persistent vomiting, lethargy where you're trying to wake up the child and is not really getting up,
Yeah.
seizures, or the rash which doesn't fade when pressed, you know, or
Okay.
the fever which is lasting more than 3 days. These are the red flags that you need to certainly see a medical care immediately.
Mm.
Okay. So it is not about like it's not about the number on the thermometer. See, like, so it's always remember this fever is much like your car's dashboard, where a yellow light sometimes comes, which is warning. It
Mm.
alerts there is something wrong, but you don't stop the car there and then immediately. Okay,
Mm. Mm.
say, okay, I need to find out what is causing this problem, exactly what is, what you need to do with fever. Why is the fever which is high? Uh,
Mm.
like, which is high, and then you need to be like looking at, you know, finding the reason for it. And
Mm.
अगर बच्चा सो रहा है तो फीवर की दवाई देने का पर्पस है कि बच्चे को कंफर्टेबल करना.
Ah.
एंड फाइंड समटाइम्स के पेरेंट्स के कि बच्चा सो रहा था, मैंने उठा के उसको दवाई दे दी ताकि तो ये
हाँ, ये तो मैंने भी सुना है।
ये नहीं समझा कि मतलब यू मेकिंग योरसेल्फ कंफर्टेबल और द चाइल्ड कंफर्टेबल लाइक
सो रहा था तो सोने दो ना यार, ऐसे बच्चा मुश्किल से सोया होगा बिकॉज ऑफ द फीवर ऑब्वियसली।
नो.
So you feel that if the child is less than 36 months, it should be 1 day. And if the child is more than 36 months, you can wait for 1 or 2 or 3 days till the time you don't see those
No,
symptoms as
if
red
the
flags.
child is less than 3 months, then you have no choice here. There is only one way, that you need to go to a doctor to evaluate.
Okay,
You know,
perfect. Ah.
if it is more than 30, if the child is like more than 3 months,
Hmm.
then be a little, observe for a day or two, and
Okay,
keep those danger signs in mind. Any of those signs, you please go and visit the doctor.
perfect.
Every time the fever strikes on day one, it's an overkill. Like, this is a
Hmm.
life you have it in India, that you can go to a doctor anytime. If you were say for example, for us, your relatives are in UK, so they cannot go to the doctor. I mean,
Ah,
this is not a, it's a, go to US and you either go to an emergency or you keep waiting for another week by the time the fever. Canada, you have the same kind of a problem. So
ah.
they have the children, the parents have learned that this is like all of them may not need an emergency. So you need to
Yeah.
identify
Hmm.
emergency from a regular problem.
Correct, correct.
And my
Perfect.
my pediatrician friends are not going to like it, by the way.
But we love you anyways. So I think you're being very, very honest, because actually there are many a times we actually struggle to find the right answer. And that's why, I mean, these questions were put on with the perspective, with me as a perspective also. I'm a mother of two. So there are a lot of times I also get into the dilemma whether really I should go or I should wait. What are the signals I should wait? What are the signals I should not wait, and all that, so on. So, how can working parents balance professional life and being present with their child's health needs, particularly nutrition? I'm talking about. Like, what are the things which you feel that, okay, these are the things you must give as a child? Like, you know, even if you're a busy mom or whatever. So, these are the things, or probably these are the superfoods which you should give to the kids.
Oh, only quality time. There's nothing superfood. Like,
Okay.
I remember once, like, my child was unwell. Like, I'm
Mm,
telling you, like, that was unwell, and because I was in hospital, so I could not go and attend. And call, he was, I think, 4 years. So that time, like, so so every time so I was not there, and the thankfully I had caregivers and the grandparents who were looking after, and all I needed to do was to give, like, the medicine, the paracetamol.
mm,
And
mm,
and the evening I went, and I read to him three stories. So he still
mm.
remembers. He doesn't remember my absence. He remembers that, like, I had the day when father read out three stories he would normally not do.
Oh, how
Like,
sweet.
like,
Ah,
so. it is not about that. We understand that most parents have a busy professional life, and
Correct.
um, and we are working to make the best for our few children. But when it comes to handling parents, it's important that you will need to be looking at common things which are very essential, like for example vaccination, like
Hmm.
Lord, so that you could probably look at this. But as far as nutrition, you asked, no? Sorry,
Yeah, yeah, health needs. Yes.
health need. So nutrition is about. It is not about eating, full. So
Hmm.
the हमारा जो है, we have. I jokingly talk to some of my parents. It's like we have a colonial mindset.
Hmm.
What does it mean? I said हमें लगता है कि कल अंग्रेज फिर से आ जाएंगे और फिर से हमारे पास खाने को लिए नहीं मिलेगा, तो आज पेट भर के खाएंगे. Like, you know whereas our grandfathers who were pre-British era, like they said कि हमें को पेट में इतनी जगह होनी चाहिए जिसमें you would have like the food, you would have like water, and you have air to churn in. Japanese, for example, I forgot the term. This is hari hachabu or something like this. It says
Huh.
that do not eat more than 80% of your tummy.
That is
Uh,
true. That is true.
Jain monks who live the longest, or even people, the Buddhist monks, they do not eat after sunset.
Hmm.
Like, so
Hmm.
there are ample examples to see eating right, with a balanced diet of 25% fruits,
Hmm.
25% vegetables, to 25% grains, and 25% only carbohydrates is the
हाँ.
key to living life, to nutritious need of this thing. तो मेरा बच्चा अगर 2 पराठा खाता है तो आई एम नॉट हैप्पी. अगर वो 1 अंडा खाता है और फिर रोटी नहीं भी खाता है, आई एम स्टिल हैप्पी. So
Correct.
that's how
Hmm.
we want to see. The nutrition is about living longer, not to live by the day.
Hmm, correct. And this 80% is something which we so much vouch by because actually in Japanese culture, because they have so long life cycle and their risk of chronic diseases are so less. And that's why we've all started saying that "Nahi, you should only eat 80%. And in fact, in Lotus Valley, where my kids are, there they have been taught why should you eat 80% and how can you balance 80%,
Yeah,
because it's something we all are living by.
we swear by, but we don't abide by. Like,
Yeah,
मतलब चलो
true,
थोड़ा सा
true.
आज, like, हाँ,
There are a long way
मतलब
to go.
I was reading a statistic the other day. Sukhdev Dabha pe, like on an every day he sells parathas was 28 lakhs. Like,
Wow. कंज्यूम तो हम ही कर रहे हैं. तो
वही तो,
यस.
इतना कैसे खा सकते हैं, बट हमें आदत होगी है, लाइक
हाँ, हाँ. और वो आप सही कह रहे हो बिकॉज पीपल हैव अ हैबिट जैसे लिव बाय द डे बिकॉज हमें लगता है कि सच में कोई आ जाएगा और आज खिला लो बच्चों को क्या पता कल खाना मिले कि नहीं मिले. एंड
हाँ.
एक्चुअली हम आजकल ऐसे ही खिला रहे हैं कि भाई अभी खा लो नहीं बेटा खाना तो जरूरी है. अरे भैया मम्मा पापा पेट भर गया देन ऑल्सो विल ओवरफीड द चाइल्ड इफ द चाइल्ड इज सेट.
It's important to, like, your body gives you a signal long
हम्म.
before it falls sick. Okay, it, like, for every, like any other car, it will give you a signal. So if you are, as a parent, you need to study your child and say, well, what's happening, what is
हम्म.
different. That's an intelligent parent, rather than trying to fit a child into a schedule कि दो रोटी तो इसको खानी चाहिए क्योंकि that's what I've been told as a child, and I
हाँ.
don't know who told me, but, like, but then you're carrying on that without a research. You do research for everything else, but
हम्म.
why not do a research on what is nutrition for a child?
Wow. Yes, absolutely. So you have been teaching neonatology for like 15 years. So what is the biggest change in child's healthcare which you've seen now? Like given AI, given technology, like what is the major change you see or major shift you see?
Okay, so like the biggest change that I've seen in the child healthcare is a shift from reactive medicine, where we waited for we were treating illnesses, tuberculosis. Hardly we see a tuberculosis now, infections, and now largely to a preventive and a family centered care. You
Wow.
know, in neonatology, for example, I can say, and I'll talk about pediatrics also. We say, okay, preterm babies, and they would have survival in NICU. There were technology not as developed as now. There were like science not as developed. It was just at that time, like we were only maybe 50 odd people in the country who were doing neonatology at that point of time. And in my early career, premature babies who survived at work, and like we left the family without any real guidance on what to do and follow up on nutrition and stimulation. At
Mm.
now we know that before the child, we train parents in everything from kangaroo care to recognizing developmental red flag signs and
Wow.
connect them with the early intervention services. And in terms of pediatrics, now we are seeing, so at that time we used to see a lot of, as I said, infections, but now we see a lot of pervasive developmental disorders like autism, like ADHD and other things. Like these have increased manifold in the last 2 decades. So this is a big paradigm shift in the kind of a practice now we see.
Oh wow. Okay. That is hard for parents also, because something like this is like heartbreaking. I mean, so how can you prevent that? Is there something we are doing wrong or something which we need to prevent?
So let me, like, in pediatric conferences, that what are the challenges that we discussed, and that will give you an insight into what is like what the doctors are worried about in the long run. So we are not worried about, we don't discuss fevers anymore, to be honest. Like,
Mm,
we don't
obviously.
discuss what is the treatment for tuberculosis, given
Mm,
that's more or less given. What we discuss is that, like, and I'll share you some statistics. uh, Autism, for example, autism used to be a very small note at all if in our exam, or maybe even if you're not attempt here, nobody would fail you for that because you're not supposed to know. At that time it was so uncommon or maybe unidentified, but now the
mm,
incidence has increased. We think partly because our habits of putting the children into from of TV, so computer screens or something,
mm,
where we feel as doctors that you probably are putting a children into an unnatural way of learning. Now,
yes.
when see two people, you and me, are sitting, and right now we're talking to each other, we're looking at each other's face, and then I can make out from your face that you're not getting really angry at me speaking so much, like so that's where can, so this is like I've learned a non-verbal communication and
Mm,
a part of the verbal communication that we're having. So this is part of a learning curve. So for an example, when you have, if both of us had screens in our hand, we might still speak and listen to each other, but we will not have that emotional connect and will not have that non-verbal communication. Okay.
correct.
And similarly, when you, for example, if I teach my child like A for apple, B for boy, and some parents are like, okay, मेरा बच्चा तो 1.5 साल में ही ABC बोल लेता है. Now that is does not come from an real gray cells like human
Mm,
analysis about logic about reasoning. It's not about repeating A for apple. Like, it is like, I mean, sorry to use that word, but even a parrot can do that. Like,
correct.
like,
Correct. Absolutely. You're right. Hmm.
so it is not what we are basically wanting. We want children human potential to explode. So best
Hmm.
way is to go out to nature. But unfortunately क्या होता है कि वो देखते हैं कि ये green color है, so they
Hmm.
realize this is
Hmm.
green. But when he goes out to a park, he says three different colors of green, like shades of
Ah,
green. Now
correct.
that's observation. So Newton became, he was sitting under and he observes the falling of the
Of the
apple.
apple. Hmm.
Like that is how we discovered gravity. So
Hmm.
everything happens outside, not in your room. So that is
Correct.
where we think that probably the behavior issues and other things that, like, too much of
Hmm.
a sugar intake, which has become part and parcel of, like, our culture, will lead
Correct.
to addiction, behavior issues, and
Hmm.
getting and
Speech delays, because a
verbal.
lot of children, parents complain of speech delays. That my child is watching screen so much now, the child is not even speaking.
Yes, because he's like he's interacted with is never a human. He's interacted with a Peppa Pig or someone like, and
Correct.
he doesn't even know what an emotion means.
That's
Peppa Pig does not give a facial smile. He just like he laughed ha ha, and this thing. So he has not understood where the way nature taught humans for 10,000 years minus these last
yes.
years.
हाँ.
Okay, लाइक अभी एक स्टडी थी विच डॉक्टर अशोक सरीन है, ILBS में ही इज द चेयरमैन. He
Hmm.
found that 10 to 15% of children would have fatty liver. Okay, and this is what like, so fatty liver we all thought was probably liver disease was related to either alcohol consumption or probably somebody like, but 10 to 15% of adolescents have fatty liver disease, which means that those of children, even without consuming alcohol, would have like a liver cirrhosis or a liver disease, maybe a couple of decades down the line. And this is something that we need to stem the rot, somewhere.
Hmm.
India is a diabetic capital of the world. So all the children that we're talking about today, like you see, uh, 1 in 6 in the world would be diabetic by 2030, and India the number is going to be 1 in 3.
My
So when we talk
God.
of artificial intelligence, we're talking of longevity, we're talking of outliving, having all the money and fifth greatest
Hmm.
economy in the world, but we're going to spend that money into the healthcare of our children. So what is the point in kind of living that life? So
Correct. Correct.
somewhere along the line we need to be looking at these issues more seriously, preventive health in pediatrics.
My goodness, my goodness. So what do you think for teens? What is that one health habit that, I mean, because you spoke about adolescents, that they should build for a lifelong well-being? Like, is it food? Are you talking about over here, or screen time, or the lifestyle? What exactly is one biggest thing?
Ah, so teens is a different ball game altogether, and I'm sure you would have, noticed that
Yes,
with your audience.
absolutely.
It's like so, teens is a different entity. I mean, they're from
Ah,
Mars. For some
ah.
reason, I can get so.
I've been lucky because my daughter is a sports person and a dancer, so she's usually super duper active. So that is
So
different.
if I could choose one, maybe you can't call it a health habit, but I'll
Mm,
tell you, you need to encourage one habit in your child, which would serve them for rest of their life. It
mm,
would be building resilience. It is ability to bounce back when the life doesn't go the way that you feel. Now we
mm.
all have our children who have been overprotected. I mean, hardly anybody's child would have gone into a DTC bus and
Ha ha ha. Not even
correct.
AC, without AC. If the
Without
school is one day without AC, they're like, oh, Mama, today, the AC was not working for 30 minutes. I said, really? We did not stay in our AC school ever. So, I mean, yes, that is a problem.
So teen years are a training ground for adulthood. Like it's filled with academic pressures, the changing friendships, and
Hmm,
also facing first experiences with failure or rejection because bullying and so many other things. Like
correct.
the teens who thrive are the ones who never fall or fail. Are the
Hmm,
ones who would never learn how to get up. That's like say. So
hmm,
it's important that you need to like build resilience, and resilience comes from building healthy routines, a regular sleep, a balanced diet, a physical activity, a problem solving skills, for example. Instead of doing everything for them, let them figure out their own solutions. When
hmm.
stand there as a safety net, for sure,
Yeah.
that's your job. But you can't really be doing everything for them and say, "Oh, Mama, ye kya ho gaya? Mama, ye kya? Mama, ni." Like all like what you need to teach them emotional regulation. So it's
Hmm.
important that they're feeling unwell and probably maybe something, let them express themselves, because unless they
Hmm.
express, the other person would not know. So every time you do not have to really go and say, okay, okay, but it's all right. Let them
Hmm.
express.
Yeah.
And a
Yeah.
simple thing that you could probably change in yourself, like and your child, is to share gratitude. It
Hmm.
is to, I mean, even noting one good thing daily, it changes how your brain sees the challenges.
Correct. Hmm. Hmm. Because you should be thankful to what you have rather than cribbing whole day. ये नहीं हुआ, ये अच्छा नहीं था, ये खाना अच्छा नहीं था, इधर रूम अच्छा नहीं है ये. Because obviously children have a habit of always criticizing others.
Yeah, because we are in a world where we start doing the same. Like say कि
हाँ,
आज ट्रैफिक ज्यादा था, आज ना लाइट, आज सड़क पे पानी ज्यादा था, आज मच्छर ज्यादा थे, आज like we are like we talk in that language and the children say,
हाँ,
"Ma, you are right, mom," because that's
हाँ,
the way it is happening. Traffic ज्यादा था. Like you could probably use like traffic for a podcast. So सबके लिए ज्यादा ना, आपके लिए
हाँ,
अलग नहीं है. So
हाँ,
why
right.
do you have a negativity with your child?
Absolutely, absolutely. So that does with our whatever questions I had prepared. But there are two more questions which my other parents who had commented. So one of them was about the hand and mouth disease. What is that? And is it very serious? And what can be done? That was one.
Yeah, should I go one or like shall I
Yes,
wait for
yes,
the
yes. Let's go one by one. This by Rajna. So we need to answer that, yeah, because probably her child is in that position. Like he has her son who has hand and mouth disease right now. So yeah.
like see on a very lighter note again, like we as doctors are fond of creating superfluous name for everything. Like you see वो आनंद मूवी देखी थी ना, उसमें लियोमायोसार्कोमा of intestines. You could have, you could have made a simple, X name for everything, but this is
हाँ,
how we say. Hand, foot, and mouth disease, like is a name which is like looks lengthy, but actually it's a viral infection. We need to decide. The next time you go to a doctor and ask him, self-limiting, not limiting. Like so that's the only question that you need to ask.
mm,
सेल्फ लिमिटिंग उसकी कोई 5 दिन के बाद जाएगा, 10 दिन के बाद जाएगा, बट ठीक हो जाएगा. Like so that's
हाँ,
a limiting illness.
okay.
So I mean, you need to then in that case not worry but provide comfort to your child. Like for example, उसके rashes हो रहे हैं तो वो rash अपने आप ही चले जाएंगे, हफ्ते के बाद चले जाएंगे, no scar left, nothing to do.
Hmm, hmm.
He's not able to swallow, maybe that you need like to use some kind of local anesthetic to reduce, maybe give cold, and maybe give ice cream. And this is the best time to, like, when he has an.
Ah, oh wow.
Yes, so only grandmothers don't like me for this, but like but you see, ice cream is just it's cold, but cold is like when your hand is burned. For example, you won't want to put it under cold water or hot water. It's obviously cold water. So
Cold
that
water. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, but ulcers in the mouth. You can't expect a 2 year or 3 year old child to start, taking warm liquid,
Ah,
these things. So you need to be sensitive to that kind of a needs. But it will also go away in weeks' time, like,
okay.
and be
Okay.
fine. So there
Perfect.
are like the chances of complications in hand, foot, mouth disease. Like again, if you ask the it's Coxsackie virus, it looks like somewhere from China, like, but it is some virus you don't need to know. It and
Hmm.
set it up.
Hmm. Wow. Okay. So then now comes our second question. That's similar to the hand foot mouth disease because she's asking. She is Shakuntala. So Shakuntala is asking that my what to do with the monsoon throat infection as well as the monsoon flu. So could be because of insects or whatever. So is it something we need to worry about? Is the odomos the remedy to it, or how can we save ourselves?
So ultimately, you need to understand. As I said, you need to have offer gratitude. I was telling one of the parents said, like, you should offer gratitude to monsoon infections also. She said, "What do you mean, doctor?" I said, like, it is going to give you boost your immune system. So if your immune system is not working, you're probably like by the time it hit by a major illness, it will
Mm,
not be functional enough. So, what I mean to say is that you don't need to take this the throat infections and the colds very seriously, because they are, again, as I just said a little before, that these are self-limiting illnesses. Okay,
okay, okay,
what you need to see is like, of course, मेरा अगर गला खराब होगा तो मैं उस टाइम पे खाना नहीं खाऊंगा, मैं थोड़ा सा अनकंफर्टेबल फील करूंगा, मेरे को लाइक अच्छा भी नहीं लगेगा, and I would not be
mm,
on the podcast that time.
correct.
But but at the same time, we need to see, I will improve after a couple of days. Okay.
Hmm.
Contrary, if I see what as a doctor, when I go to a doctor, when should I get worried? Okay,
Hmm.
कफ हो गया, गला खराब हो गया, तो मेरे को कब परेशान होना है? मेरे को परेशान होना है कि अगर मेरे बच्चे के कान में दर्द होने लग गए, which means the infection has traveled from mouth into the ears. I have to get ready problem if my throat gets like sorry, if my lung gets infected. So
Hmm.
manifestation would be like breathing which is like very heavy,
Yeah.
or I'm like having a fever which is lasting more than 5 days.
God bless you. God bless you.
I hope my mom doesn't hear this. Otherwise, she says, "देखो मैंने बोला था ना इतनी देर तो बाहर मत रहना." So, so so this is where we need to say कि थोड़ा टाइट आप ये तो रेड फ्लैग साइंस है, आप हमें
Hmm.
कैसे करना है? सो प्रोटेक्शन जो होता है कि एज आई सेड वी कैन नॉट इराडिकेट मॉस्किटोज फ्रॉम दिस वर्ल्ड, ओके,
Correct.
सो
Correct.
दैट वी हैव टू टेक आवर पर्सनल प्रोटेक्शन.
Hmm.
नाउ प्रोटेक्शन इज कि वी नीड टू आइडेंटिफाई कि जो है मच्छर जो है वो आपको एक्सपोज पार्ट पे काटेगा.
Hmm.
सो
Hmm.
when it is a monsoon season, then you need to go fully covered, like
Hmm.
in the
Full shirt, full pan.
full
Hmm.
pants. Even going to school, you could probably argue with the school in case dengue season hota hai.
Hmm.
I send my children only in the full suits, irrespective of
Yeah.
school. This thing is that they
Correct.
also understand this thing. So full length clothing, socks, and this thing, and like. But if your child goes in a dengue season in a say a short, for example, it's not the right kind of a personal
Correct.
protection that you're
Hmm.
talking about. Now the second thing is odomos. Odomos एक चीज होती है या कोई भी क्रीम जो होती है mosquito repellent cream.
Hmm. Hmm.
You need to apply. It's not a poison. It's not a mosquito killer cream. It's a mosquito repellent cream.
Repellent.
So जिस चीज से मच्छर को भी नहीं मर सकता है, उससे आदमी को कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. Like
हाँ.
so, but जो वो पैच लगते हैं, this like fancy this thing. So I apply my patch here. It does not protect my foot, or I apply it on my back. It is not, mosquito doesn't know you have worn a patch. He only sees okay, आपने मोड़ो लगा कि नहीं लगाया.
हाँ. हाँ.
Like so, patches and other things are not good. So if you're using a lotion, you need to use it every 1 to 2 hours. But if you're using a cream every 3 to 4 hours, you need to reapply.
Okay. So those are the two things which we need to be very, very careful about. One is full from top to toe, you should be mostly covered, and cream or ointment, not patches.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So now it finishes our important segment, which was on Q&A. But now we have a little fun element. So I have a 10 like rapid fire kind of naughty question. Naughty, not naughty actually. But we want to know you better. So
Yeah.
it's not like work. It is more to know about you.
I hope it's not been given by my wife, huh?
No. We have been very, very particular in what kind of questions we are selecting for you. So it's more to do with your other part. I mean, I would say the other half of your life. So
Yeah.
one is being a doctor, and another is obviously your different life. So tea or coffee? Which kind of person are you?
Coffee, so I make sure that I have 2 cups of coffee every day, at least. Sometimes go to 3, but like generally I finish my last coffee by 4. And there's enough data to suggest that coffee really reduces the
I have
anxiety.
always seen David off on your table, so I know
Yeah.
you're a coffee lover. So yeah. So what first word your child said?
AC.
What?
AC.
AC? Really?
Yes. And we were wondering, मैं क्या ये देखिए ये सही है यार,
इसको पता है क्या चाहिए लाइफ में. मम्मी पापा तो मिल ही जाएंगे, ये इम्पोर्टेंट है.
it's like we were struggling. The clear word I'm talking about. So
Oh, wow.
till the time, we were just we were talking about कि okay, mama बोल रहा है, papa बोल रहा है. That's like a different thing. But the clarity से थे ना, जो other than mama, papa was AC.
Oh, lovely. That's lovely. That's hilarious, actually. So golf or flute, what relaxes you more?
Flute,
Okay. Good.
largely because I'm not competing against anyone. So, like, the golf course disappoints me because
Uh, you're competing with people. Go for solo practice. So your dream vacation spot.
see, like, my dream is to like any place which does not have an internet. Like, so you
Ah,
go there and
very
it's like, so
smart.
it doesn't matter to me. Like, see, nature, I've like traveled across the world, but
Ah,
I've said like nature is beautiful everywhere. Like, so you have the
right.
same clouds, same greenery, same everything. It is like one, the company which matters, and
Hmm.
second is that when you are you find okay, I have no way to go back now. I have to
हाँ,
stay back, so that's tricky, like, yeah.
ठीक
But
है डन।
you don't get anywhere now, so you go
अगली
to
बार आप जहाँ जाओगे हम इंटरनेट कटवा देंगे कोई बात नहीं।
bilkul, like,
So your go-to comfort food after a long working day?
so generally, like, yeah, you said food, is that right?
Food, yes.
So, like, I end my date was with a chamomile tea, like, because that's my nighttime routine, like playing a flute for 5-10 minutes, doing a stretch, taking a
Huh?
chamomile tea, warm bath, and then, like, relax and go to sleep. Like,
Wow, wow. I love your routine. You're quite disciplined.
uh, I try to be, like, because that's the only way you can prolong life. Because
Obviously.
the
Obviously.
the other thing, like, I was reading a statistics on the doctors in India, like, they die on average 7 years earlier than the general population. So I thought, like, I'll
Why?
be
Why was the reason? What was the reason stating? I mean,
the
that's vague.
that's a statistics. I mean, like, the reason is not defined because the study did not go into the details. But the most of the time we understand because, like, the hours are kind of very
Very long hours.
long hours, and then plus somehow, no, like, and as doctors, most doctors are not really, they don't look after their personal health till the time they reach 40s or 50s, and then they realize, okay, our most of the conferences would be happening, so like around, say, around 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, and we'll finish by 8 and 10. So that's where things are going wrong, but I mean, slowly and steadily we're claiming it back.
Hmm. Wow. Wow. So, one most adorable thing a patient ever said to you, like a compliment.
Like, the patient, I mean, say the doctor, the patient, or I mean, so the child, or the
Anybody, like which you still remember, maybe something which was his cute, very adorable, sweet, which you felt, oh my God, that's such a compliment.
it's like, so I mean, it was more like innocence personified, like child said, okay, I said, are you my friend? So he said, yes. Would you? Then he said, would you come to my class and we can study together? I said, fair enough. That's a good idea. Like,
That is so nice. That's so
it,
cute.
it was so impromptu, no? So, like, it's
Uh,
okay. I said, would you be my friend? As a general compliment, that was. I
uh,
said, that's fine. And you come to my class and we'll study together. I said, that's fair enough.
that's very sweet. That's very sweet.
And
So,
one thing I learned from one of my, not learned, but like, that's on the negative side, which I say. So once I had a patient, a very small 5 or 6 year girl. I said, like, so I had written one prescription, and she came for a review after a couple of days, and then I started writing another prescription on another paper. So then the girl looked at her father and said, Papa, why did doctor not write on the back of the paper? Doesn't he know that the paper is from trees? I felt so embarrassed. I felt like,
that is so true. That is so true. But we usually use the second side of the paper.
So I mean, that's like, you usually do, but like, somehow like it just
Somehow it misses something because I remember I have mostly used both the sides of the paper.
correct. So it's like, तो अब उस टाइम पे नहीं देखा था, but वो तो बहुत पुरानी बात थी, but like I still remember that, like, said such a cute analogy, like, so like was लग रहा था कि yeah, you're probably at the wrong place, पापा.
But that's what innocence talks, I think. Both of
I
them are very, very cute incidences. So if you weren't a doctor, what would you be?
Like if I was not a doctor, see, in fact, I never planned to be a doctor. I wanted to be an engineer, but I would have given that up also. I love meeting people. I love traveling to places where, I mean, not with the intent of seeing a place, but meeting people, to understand the culture. To like, say if I have to go to Switzerland, I will not go to Geneva, for example, or not let go to, but I'll go to a Swiss village to meet how the people. So that's the kind of I might have been a traveler if not an engineer or like.
Wow, that is super interesting. I mean, that's like this was unexpected.
Yeah, so like I love Middle East a lot because their culture is so different. I mean,
Wow.
it's like, so I've been to Israel also. It's like to Palestine to
Mm.
understand how it works. Like,
Oh wow, that's lovely. I mean, that's amazing. So that finishes our rapid fire, and you came out with flying colors. You were superb, and it was mesmerizing to know the other side of your life. So So that finishes our questions. Thank you so very much, Dr. Sanjay, for taking out time and sharing such amazing knowledge on the table today. It was such a privilege to hear you. And it was so nice to hear three takeaways, which I felt was like bang on. One was trust God. God has created us and God has created food. So give the food because this is something which I'm going to take it throughout my life because that is so relevant which you said that अरे भगवान ने तो बनाया है आपको और भगवान ने तो खाना बनाया है तो मतलब why don't you give the food which is there naturally than looking for supplement this and that and falana and dhumkana. So that is the biggest takeaway. Second big takeaway is quality sleep. That focus on your sleep rather than any other thing because that is something which is going to rejuvenate you and bring you in proper shape. And third is even if you have fever, don't panic, just relax and things will go away. Even if you have hand mouth disease or whatever you have, just give it time and don't panic and take your own sweet time. And if the fever is there, remember that it could be some symptom, so probably it is a fighting back bacteria, which is so relevant. I mean, I think you all the things which you said is a bigger takeaways. I mean, to name few of them, these are the three things which I loved the most. So thank you so much, Dr. Sanjay. Thank you all of you for tuning in. And we had such lovely time. Thank you for accepting our invite and thank you for being so late. So I'm sure it is a very long day for you, but we had such a lovely session. We had amazing time. And for all of you present here, I'm sure you guys have enjoyed a lot, just like me. And we have next session on next Wednesday, exactly at 8 p.m. See you soon and take care. And thank you so much once again.
Thank you so much, Sari. It was fun having all this conversation at the end of the day. And my only one, I don't even give three takeaways. I just have one. Just don't overcomplicate the care. Like you just keep the routine simple. And you would probably, if all of the mammals are survival, will also survive.
That is so true. Everybody survive. We will also. Actually, these medicines or these over care is spoiling us rather than I make things are more sorted and we don't panic so much and we live the way we are living. I think we are better living. So yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Sure. Thank you so much.
thank you so much, Dr. Sanjay. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Good night. Good night, everyone. Take care.